I always have to explain to her, well, we have to take turns with the other children, and especially with your mother. Jeremiah Hunter. We call him Hunter. Hunter was born about 3 years later on November 16th of 1998. His birth actually progressed a lot faster. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'm a little embarrassed to say that when the labor pains actually started, I timed them, and they were sort of a little bit sporadic, about 10 to 12 minutes apart. And I told my wife, I said, when you get closer to 4 minutes, wake me up again. So we were a little, relaxed about it, but she was very okay with that. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning, she woke me up again, saying, "Yeah, they're getting closer." And I thought, "Are you sure?" This is, it took a lot longer with Madeline, but sure enough, at 4 o'clock, Hunter was born. Now, the interesting thing, as a father giving the birth here, assisting with the birth, was that as he was coming out, all of our children have been big kids, the ones that were born at home. But his shoulder got a little bit stuck, so I had to help maneuver it out a little bit to get him to come out and get him to turn just a little bit to come out through the birth canal. And it was a little bit painful for Julia during that. At one point, she screamed, "Get it out, get it out." I said, I'm trying, trying to get him out of there. But as soon as that shoulder came free, boy, he came shooting out. He was out like, a greased pig out of there. Caught him, and actually I thought Julia was in pain, so I set him over on the side just for a little bit, and I checked on Julia just to make sure that she was okay, because my priority and first concern is always with my wife to see how she's doing. When I went back to him about 30 seconds later, he wasn't breathing yet. He was just laying there. But as soon as I picked him up and turned him over, a little bit of fluid came out, and he started breathing, and he didn't cry at all. And we were able to give him up to her breast, and he was able to nurse right away. And it was just fine, no problem whatsoever. A couple of pictures of him. Actually, this is one of his favorite sleeping positions here. This is with his rear end up in the air, and he always does that. Even when we were camping last night, as a matter of fact, he was on top of the sleeping bag with his rear end up in the air like that. And you guys got to see, I guess, a little bit of his rear end there too. But here's the picture with Dad, too. Rutger, he's the little one over here that my wife is holding. He is 4 months old now. His birth actually was, it seems each time we have the babies, they come a little bit faster and a little bit faster. He progressed very quickly. And his shoulder also got stuck a little bit. As a matter of fact, at one point, not only did his shoulder get stuck, but the birth was sort of progressed so quickly that the transition phase for Julie almost set in during the birth, if you will, where she had some fears. And then, he came out just a little bit, and she had the fear set in, and he got pulled back in for just a little bit again. And I said, "Okay, Julie, you can do it." So we had to coach him just a little bit more. And he came right out. Popped right out, and we were getting ready to put him up there so he could nurse right away. But the problem with him, his umbilical cord was short. It wasn't long enough. We couldn't reach him up there. Okay, wait a minute, it won't reach. I couldn't get him up there. The extension cord wasn't long enough. So we actually had to, so she could nurse, we actually had to go ahead and tie off early and cut the umbilical cord. But it seemed like it had actually, usually we fill for the pulsating and wait till the pulse through the umbilical cord is done. But I think for his, actually, it had actually completed fairly early, so we weren't doing it prematurely. So we felt very comfortable going ahead and doing that. And he was able to nurse. And actually, before he started nursing, I think he actually had 3 bowel movements before he made a mess 3 times before he ever started nursing. So that's a memory with him. It's interesting how fathers get these memories, from these things. I can remember Madeline, her eyes wide open, and Hunter, he was just fine, just laying over there by himself, and he started nursing right away, never cried or anything. And of course, with him, it's 3 bowel movements before he starts nursing, and not the extension cord not being long enough there. And you can see again that I'm not an electronic genius. I couldn't get the picture rotated, so everyone looks sideways there. And here is a picture of the whole family, if you could see it. It is. Well, it's lovely on the computer, though. You can come up and look at the computer afterwards. For me, having being able to be the father and the coach for a home birth has very special meaning. I like to study things. I like to know things as well as I can beforehand. I don't do this because I am, have a leftist or liberal bent or anything like that. I don't do it because I want to be a survivalist. We don't live in a shack. I don't have the teeth that Jenny has. We don't do that. There is a part of me maybe that wants to be able to have my options and to know that, okay, if something should happen, we can have this ourselves and we don't have to worry about it. But now it's just sort of a way of life for us, as a matter of fact. But I also know that if something happened and we needed to go to the hospital, I'd be okay with that. I don't have anything against the medical business as long as I'm there all the time watching what they're doing. But for my wife and I, it is a tremendously joyful experience. And I wouldn't want anything to get in the way of that. I wouldn't want anything to separate us in that way. So, is it for everybody? Probably not. Can it be? Well, yeah, I think so. I think it could be. But for me, it's just a very special way of bonding with my wife and with our children. So with that, that's my presentation. And if there are any questions at this time, I'll go ahead and allow you to ask away. I don't have any more pictures to take, so. Are there any questions, any thoughts?
I'd just like to say thank you for sharing.
No, thanks. You're welcome very much.